3.8%, 3.6%, negative 0.3%. Those three numbers, released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics just yesterday, are the single most important shift in the American consumer economy in 3 years. 3.8% is the headline inflation rate for April 2026, the hottest print since May 2023. 3.6% is the average wage growth American workers are actually receiving, and negative 0.3% is what the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculated as the real decline in average hourly earnings over the past year. Wages rose 3.6%, prices rose faster at 3.8%, and purchasing power eroded by roughly 1/3%. If you feel like you are working harder, earning more, and somehow still falling behind, you are not imagining it. For the first time in 3 years, inflation is officially eating every dollar of wage gains, and the data underneath the headline is significantly worse than what most people realize. We are going to walk through exactly what is happening, why it is happening, and the 2 specific moves you can make right now to stop the bleeding. You see, headline inflation prints are usually noisy, but this one is not. If we look at the breakdown of the April CPI report, energy alone accounted for more than 40% of the monthly increase, with gasoline up 28.4% year over year and the national average sitting at approximately $4.51 a gallon. Groceries climbed 2.9% year over year, with the monthly pace of food-at-home price increases reaching its fastest rate in years. Beef is up nearly 15%. Fresh produce posted one of its sharpest monthly increases in recent years, rising 2.1% in a single month. And so the story being told by this data is very simple. The 2 categories that every single American household cannot opt out of, fueling the car and feeding the family, are the exact 2 categories driving the squeeze. Now, many investors will look at this and say, well, this is just a temporary energy shock. The Fed will cut rates and inflation will roll back over. And believe it or not, there is some truth to that view. Energy is volatile, and supply shocks do eventually fade. But the problem with that argument is hiding one report deeper. The Producer Price Index, also released yesterday, came in at 6.0% year over year. That is the highest reading in nearly 4 years, and it is the largest single-month gain since March 2022. In other words, the prices that wholesalers and producers are paying right now are running at nearly double the rate that consumers have absorbed so far. PPI is the early warning system. It tells us what is sitting in the pipeline on its way to the shelf before it ever shows up in your grocery bill. And right now, that pipeline is full. The Federal Reserve, under newly confirmed Chair Kevin Warsh, who was confirmed by the Senate on May 13, 2026, is now in a position where markets have priced out essentially every rate cut for the rest of 2026. And the probability of an actual rate hike has climbed to roughly 20 to 28%, a level that would have seemed unthinkable just a few months ago. This is the environment economists are now calling stagflation light. And in this kind of environment, the most dangerous thing you can do with your money is leave it sitting still. Here is the math, and it is not sexy, but it is the truth. If you have $10,000 sitting in a traditional checking account at one of the big banks earning 0.01% at 3.8% inflation, that money buys $9,620 worth of goods 1 year from now. In 5 years, the same $10,000 buys roughly $8,301 worth of groceries, gas, and rent. You have quietly lost $1,699 in purchasing power without a single withdrawal. This is the cost of doing nothing in 2026. So the question becomes, what do you actually do about it? The first move is defensive. Your emergency fund, your 3 to 6 months of expenses, needs to live in a high-yield savings account, not a brick-and-mortar checking account. Top online banks right now are still paying between 4 and 5% APY. At 4% on $10,000, you earn roughly $408 per year. Inflation takes about $380 of that back. You are not getting rich, but you are roughly breaking even, and that is the entire point. The second move is offensive, and it is where actual wealth is built. To beat 3.8% inflation, you have to own assets that compound faster than it. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned around 10% per year in nominal terms, which works out to roughly 6 to 7% in real purchasing power after inflation. Think of an index fund as a single basket holding the 500 largest companies in America. When prices at the grocery store and the gas station rise, the revenues and profits of the companies inside that basket rise with them. By owning the basket, you are no longer the victim of inflation. You are quietly on the other side of the trade. Now, JP Morgan research shows the average investor only captures 2.9% in actual returns, far below the index. because they try to time the market and they sell during volatility. So the strategy is not complicated. Automate $50 a week into a broad index fund. Ignore the daily noise. Let it compound. You cannot control the Federal Reserve, the price of crude oil, the war disrupting the Strait of Hormuz, or the inflation rate printing on the next CPI report. The only thing you control is where your dollars sit while all of this unfolds. Leave them in a dead checking account, and the math guarantees you lose. Move them into a high-yield account and a low-cost index fund, and you finally have the engine working with you instead of against you. It is slow. It is unsexy. And right now in this economy, it is the only mathematically proven way to outpace the shrinking dollar. Thank you for watching.